Today's show is what everyone is and should be concerned about: money and taxes. I'm not saying that one should be driven by money, but money matters. I'm not shy to say that. Money brings a quality of life, health care, goods and services that we need. You work hard for your earned income. That's why they call it earned. And you do not leave money on the table. People generally work, save, and then retire. How do we do that? By planning smart and planning ahead. October is National Retirement Security Month. Long ago, I was a Series 7 registered sales rep. But today, I turn to a financial planner who keeps me abreast of my savings and my investment, and along with the strategies to help me. I need to focus on my work, on my earnings, and I need a partner to help me protect and invest my money. Today, we are talking with one of the most dedicated, experienced, and successful financial planners known to me, and his name is Mike. And Mike is with Edward Jones.
Correct.
And Mike, tell me your full name.
So, good afternoon, everyone. My full name is Michael Christodoulou. Okay. So I'm a financial advisor with Edward Jones. Karen Goldstein is my senior branch office administrator. We work together, and our office is located in the beautiful Stony Brook Village in Stony Brook. So at my office, we specialize in comprehensive financial planning with a focus on asset management, retirement income planning, and estate planning.
Karen is a lovely person to work with.
She is.
Every time I contact your office, she answers the phone. She's very friendly, and she works with me. And obviously, Mike, how do you, what's your telephone number again?
So our number is 631-444-0179.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell me a little bit about your background and how did you become a financial planner, if you could, for the audience?
So my background is in finance. I always knew I wanted to be a financial advisor, and I'm very passionate about helping people in reference to their finances. I hold 4 graduate level designations, certifications, including being a chartered financial consultant, which is the most advanced financial planning designation. I specialize in the areas that I love working with and I find challenging, which are, again, asset management, retirement planning for our clients, and estate planning.
Cool. And Edward Jones, tell me a little bit about that company.
So Edward Jones is the largest privately held financial advisory company in the United States. What I love about them is that we are not publicly traded, so we are truly able to put our best foot forward and be completely unbiased for our clients and not our shareholders. So our relationships are based on our client relationships and doing the best thing for our clients, and not around sales quotas or anything along those lines, like publicly traded companies usually force clients to. They put those interests first.
Okay. So this month is National Retirement Security Month. And I heard Social Security is giving an increase next year, but Social Security is not something that was planned for us to rely on.
Correct.
And how do you advise someone in regard to savings for that retirement?
So National Retirement Security Month let's talk about what is National Retirement Security Month and what the purpose is, right? So National Retirement Security Month was developed by financial services companies to help promote financial wellness, specifically in the area of financial planning. So it's a good time to take a pause, reflect on what your personal retirement goals are, and determine if you're on target to reach and maintain those goals. So Regina, I'm going to share a fact that I think you're going to find pretty interesting here. Most people spend more time planning for their vacations than they do for their own retirement. Can you imagine that? They spend more time planning a vacation than they do actually figuring out what their retirement is going to look like. So I actually see that all the time, and I understand why people may be intimidated about retirement planning, because it's a scary process. I compare it to being at a doctor's office, for example, waiting for test results, an MRI, for example, and not wanting that doctor to walk back in with some negative news. So no matter how much or how little people save, sometimes they're intimidated by the fact that what if the advisor has some negative news about their retirement. So retirement security means different things to different people. For example, some people, like you said before, just want to retire, and I call that cliff jumping. One day they're working, the next day they're completely retired. Actually, that's becoming less common now, where people actually want to continue working, or they want to work part-time, or they want to start a brand new hobby or a different career path that they always were interested in. For example, I had a client who always loved aviation, wanted to become a pilot, became a pilot, and now flies from state to state, rescuing pets, dogs, and animals, and getting them adopted. So it really depends on what your goals are to dictate what retirement security is.
So what is the first step for someone in achieving their retirement goals?
The first step is to identify your goals. What do you want to do? When do you see yourself retiring? Do you want to retire, and so on? But you don't want to waste too much time kind of ironing out those goals, because they may change. So you want to take advantage of building those resources, build up that wealth, your retirement savings. If you're working, take advantage of your 401k or any other employer-sponsored plan, 403B, 457. Save in those accounts. If your employer offers a match, contact your employer, figure out what that match is. If they offer one, take advantage of putting money into that plan. And if your employer doesn't offer a retirement account, definitely call a financial advisor and set up a retirement account, because time is your most valuable asset.
I agree. That's mind-boggling what you were telling me about that people are hesitant to plan to retire or afraid to think about it, and they think more of their vacation. Unfortunately, the negative news, like you were saying, a cliff diving, oh my gosh, what if I fall not into the water or into soft sand, I land on the rocks? That would be scary for me.
Right.
So I hope in today's show, people are courageous and confident and take that first step and establish that goal and contact a financial advisor like you. So why don't you tell us how much should someone be saving towards retirement?
That's a great question, and I get that question all the time. Mike, what is that number that I should have to be able to retire? And that number is completely different for every single person out there. I believe that we could figure out how much you should save by running a cash flow analysis, or what we call a budget. When was the last time someone conducted a budget? It's very rare that I find a client that walks into my office and has a detailed cash flow analysis or a budget with them to start off that meeting. That budget will dictate how much money the client is working with. Do they have a surplus, a deficit, which allows us to figure out how much they should be saving, or are they in a deficit, and what areas can we cut back in order to help them save more?
So what kind of, how do you plan for a budget? Like, what things should you be considering? Obviously, there's rent or a mortgage or property taxes. What are the costs you factor in for a budget?
Great. So there's a lot of different, everything you spend money on should be there. And even if you intend on spending money on a certain area in retirement, you should include in that budget. But specifically, one area that I feel that a lot of people either grossly underestimate or don't even include at all are their medical expenses.
Boy. So, Mike, I'm getting the cue that we are going to be breaking shortly for a commercial break. So we'll be back after our commercial break, and please advise us. Continue. Thank you. Back on, and Mike from Edward Jones was telling us about how to budget for retirement and how some people forget about medical expenses and include them in their budget. So, Mike, why don't you just finish up about that? And I do have some questions for you about some taxes. So
Great.
We'll go from there.
Yeah, so Yeah, the most grossly underestimated expense, like we said, is including healthcare costs in their budget. So you definitely want to budget for healthcare costs, even with Medicare and adding the costs of Medicare supplements and the cost of drugs. And don't forget, inflation is one of the highest areas for medical costs. We recommend that you use a number between $8,000 to $12,000 per year in medical costs in your budget. You definitely want to consult with your financial advisor or someone like one of your prior guests, like Medicare Mike, in order to find a more detailed number of what your number will actually look like. And if you are someone who worked at a union or has a job that you hear that they help pay for some of those costs, you definitely want to contact your employer and figure out how they work with you and what they supplement your Medicare costs with.
Thank you for that. Now, there's some proposed changes going on in Congress, and they're considering some possible changes and how they're going to be affecting how people save for retirement. Mm-hmm. Do you know of any of these changes?
Yeah, so we're definitely staying on top of it. It's been a busy year, obviously, down in Washington with a lot of these changes being proposed. There are a couple of popular retirement savings techniques that may be disappearing as soon as the end of this year, and they're specifically called backdoor Roth IRAs and mega backdoor Roth IRAs.
What are those?
Great question, right? So a backdoor Roth IRA, you can't come into my office or call up a financial advisor and say, I want a backdoor Roth IRA. It's not an actual product or platform. It's more of a process that helps you save into a Roth. So in order to understand what that process is and what the purpose of it is, let's talk about what a Roth IRA is, right? A Roth IRA allows an individual to contribute after-tax dollars and grow those tax dollars tax-deferred and potentially use those assets tax-free after age 59 and a half. So not everyone can put money into a Roth IRA. So there are definitely limits, and you get phased out or eliminated. For single taxpayers, that's between $125,000 to $140,000. For joint taxpayers, between $198,000 and $208,000. So if you make more than that, you can't put money into a Roth. So you definitely want to talk to your tax accountant and financial advisor to see how you qualify for that. Now, if someone earns more than that, they still have options, right? And that's where that backdoor Roth comes from. So you can actually convert your traditional IRA or your qualified retirement plan, and that conversion is actually known as that backdoor Roth IRA. So what that means is you're taking money that you have saved in a pre-tax IRA or your 401k, converting it into that Roth IRA, paying those taxes up front out of pocket, and then allowing that money to be in that Roth, growing tax-deferred and potentially getting that money out tax-free. So the biggest difference here is the mega backdoor Roth IRA strategy. This is an even more powerful tool. It allows someone to convert more funds with an after-tax 401k. So some employers allow after-tax 401ks. That means you can put in additional money into that 401k, and then what you do is you quickly take that out, put it into a Roth, and it allows for significant savings. So that is all on the chopping block currently with Washington.
Oof. Why would they do that? And retirement is so necessary. I think it's against public policy, right?
Yeah. It's definitely interesting to see that they're really targeting that specific tool and strategy.
Now, if Congress pulls the plug on the backdoor and the mega backdoor Roth IRA strategies, are there other tax-sensitive strategies or options that somebody could consider?
Yeah, Regina, people are always looking for ways to grow money either tax-free or in a more tax-sensitive manner. One option that's out there, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. It's just kind of taking out other tools and suggestions out of our toolbox, is starting to make contributions into a Roth 401k. So if you're offered a 401k or an employer-sponsored plan, contact your plan sponsor, your employer, to see, do they have a Roth option? And there are some benefits if they do. You could put in significantly more money into that Roth 401k than you can in a Roth IRA, which allows you to save a lot more money. And employee contributions are allowable to all investors, regardless of your income, which is another really neat feature. But you definitely want to speak speak to your attorney, your tax accountant, to make sure that by diverting money away from your 401k into a Roth, that won't hurt you at the end of the day with your tax situation.
Okay, great. Now, if someone wants to have a tax deduction and not use the Roth 401k contribution option, are there other strategies?
There are other strategies, right? And that's going to happen a lot, right? So there are people out there that they need that full deduction from their 401k contributions. So that won't make sense for them. That prior idea and strategy won't work. But another one that is out there is utilizing an HSA, a health savings account. These are only available to employees with eligible high deductible health insurance plans. Again, you want to contact your employer, see if they offer a high deductible plan, and then you also want to make sure if that high deductible health insurance plan is the right fit for you or your family too. That's very important. But there definitely are some great advantages of utilizing a health savings account. So for example, in 2021, if you're single, you could save pre-tax $3,600 into a health savings account. And for someone with a family plan, you could save pre-tax, again, $7,200 a year into that plan. And now that money goes into an account. Depending on where that HSA is, it may be interest-bearing, or there may be 401k option-like investments that are in there that allow that money to grow. And as long as that money is used for qualified medical expenses, you get that money out penalty-free and tax-free. And there's also some other neat features. For example, once you reach age 65, you could withdraw that money for essentially anything. So as long as you're 65 and over, you can use that money for anything. But there won't be any penalty for that distribution, but you will be responsible for taxes. So if you said, hey, I'm 65, 66 years old, and I want to take that money out and buy myself a boat, there is no penalty, but you will be responsible for income taxes on that distribution. And another last really cool feature is that there is no required minimum distributions. So that money could stay in that account for as long as you need it to. So if you have a family member or you're a younger investor, taking advantage of a health savings account can definitely build up a pretty nice sizable account in the future and allow you to have options just like a 401k or a Roth account later on in life.
Okay, so going back to that HSA figure where if you're a family, you have a family and it's $7,200, can both spouses contribute $7,200 or is it per family?
Well, it's per family, right? Well, so it is $7,200 per family for the family plan.
Okay. Right. All right. No, just interesting.
Yeah.
So that's a good way to save for medical expenses also. Because they may be unforeseen.
Right. As a financial advisor and planner, we definitely don't want the clients to be utilizing those assets outside of Medicare costs because we know that medical costs are going to add up and they're going to be pretty significant. But it's always an option, right? There's that option that they could use that money essentially for anything and just pay some taxes to use it. Okay.
Mike, you have been extremely informative and helpful. So thank you again, as always.
Yeah, no problem.
How are your kids?
The kids are great. My son is 4.5, playing hockey, super active, and my daughter's a little diva. She's 2 now, and she's having a lot of fun. She's a tough little girl.
Oh, that's good. Now, Halloween is coming, so everybody wants to know, what are their costumes?
All right, so my daughter's going to be a butterfly.
Okay.
She's just fascinated by butterflies. And my son, my wife loves Halloween. That's her favorite holiday. So she's got a couple different ideas for my son. He wanted to be a chicken, but he's also going to be a Spider-Man. So he's going to be a chicken one day and a Spider-Man another day.
That's cool. Yeah. So, Mike, how do people get in contact with you again?
Great. So they can call my office. Karen Goldstein, again, is my senior branch office administrator. They can reach us at 631-444-0179.
Thank you. And this is Regina Brando at brandolaw.com. Call us at 631-675-2540. Thank you.